it's Kelly Lehman and Lucy Lehman, and today we'd like to take you on a fall garden flower tour through our secret garden and through some of the side gardens that we have here and through our flower farm. If we haven't met yet, it's nice to meet you. My name is Kelly Lehman. I'm the owner of Cranberry Fields Flower Farm here in Cranberry, New Jersey, and I love giving you guys fun, free flower tips. So please feel free to subscribe to this YouTube channel and hit the bell notification so you know whenever I post another fun, free flower tip video. So let's dive right in. So we are in October in my New Jersey garden and flower farm, and I wanted to show you some of the flowers that are still coming up in the field right now. So we've got some flowers that are considered to be repeat bloomers, and that means that they're going to come up almost the entire season long. So we've got zinnias and celosia that have been blooming in the field ever since like the end of spring, early summer, and they're going to go right up until the frost in like late October. And the way that we got these gals to come back so beautiful and gorgeous all season long is that we deadhead them. So we'll take a little clip from these plants as they start to get spent. And what happens is then these plants wind up producing more shoots from the side stem, and they wind up giving us continual blooms as long as we continue to deadhead them. Because once zinnias start to die out, their flower heads start to become like kind of brown, and they start to go to seed. And once your zinnia plant goes to seed, it stops producing those blooms. So when you're out there and you're deadheading, the plant says, oh, wait a minute, I have to produce another bloom. I'm not ready to go to seed yet. So make sure that you deadhead your zinnias, and the same story goes for your celosia. If you kind of keep deadheading it, it's going to keep giving you more blooms. But celosia is even easier because even if you don't deadhead celosia, those blooms keep coming back all season long, so they're terrific. And what I'm going to do now is take a ride out to the field, and I'm going to show you how we collect seeds from a lot of our zinnias and a lot of our celosia and a lot of our sunflowers this time of year, and then we plant them in our spring garden next year, and we get like oodles of flowers every year, and we don't have to worry about buying too many seeds. Okay, so let's go head over there. Ready, Luce? All right, let's hit it. Let me try not to hit my car as I'm doing it. So this zinnia flower, I'm going to give a clip right about here. I'm actually going to go a little bit lower here. And now that I remove this bloom, the plant is going to have more energy to give into this bloom, and it's going to have more energy to give to this bloom. And so I'm going to wind up with two new beautiful flowers, and I can keep doing this all season long. Now this zinnia head has already gone to seed. So what I'm going to do is kind of pluck this out, and you can see that there are seeds in here. Each of these little arrowheads is an actual zinnia seed. So these are the ones that you're going to replant in your garden next year. So what I'll do is I'll just clip these guys. I'll let them hang upside down in my barn for like a week or two to get all the moisture out, and then I'll start collecting those zinnia seeds. And I made a video showing you how to collect your zinnia seeds, how to collect your celosia seeds, and how to collect your sunflower seeds, all different videos, and I'll link all of them below because it gives you really super easy instructions on how to do that for your own gardens. So come on over here, let's check out the celosia. And these gals, the same thing. So right this time of year, we're still cutting these gorgeous flowers in this October. They've been blooming since like summer. So take a look at this celosia plant over here. This guy has thousands of seeds in them. Each of these little black seeds is a celosia plant. So I'm just going to give it a little scrape in my hand. And that's probably about, I don't know what, 15, 20 different celosia plants in my hand right now. Each of those little pepper flakes is an actual seed. So if you're interested in harvesting those seeds, once again, take a look at some of those videos that I'm going to link below. It's so easy, and it's so fun to replant them, and it's so great knowing that you have all these seeds at your access, and it's free. I love free. So this is what a sunflower looks like in the field or in your garden that's ready to be harvested for seed. It's very yellow on the background. It's kind of browning. There's no more green on the back of it. And you can tell all those beautiful ray flowers, the ones that were on the outside, have now dropped to the ground. And the inside florets, these inside disc flowers, are very easy to scrape off. So as I scrape these little flowers off, I see tons of plump, ripe seeds underneath here. And you can tell the birds already had a feast with a lot of this flower. They plucked the seeds right out of here, and this is what the seeds look like. They come right off with your finger. So there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of seeds in here, but this is what a sunflower head looks like that's ready to be harvested. This is what the ivy looks like as it's hanging off the side of my house, and I want to show you something really beautiful. There are these little seed heads that form this time of year, and they're absolutely beautiful, and we use them in a lot of our bouquets because they have a really great vase life and they're just like really interesting to look at. So if you have ivy, check it out this time of year because you might not have even realized that your ivy does this beautiful display of gorgeousness. These are some daisies that I have, and I used to think they were Shasta daisies, and then I realized that they only bloom in fall. So I looked it up, and it looks like they're probably Montauk daisies. Wow, look at the pollen sacs on the back of this honeybee. All that orange that you see on the back there, that's all pollen that he's or she's collected, and she's going to bring all that pollen back to the hive. So they have little sacs on the back of their legs called pollen sacs. That's amazing. Wow, good pollen sac collection. Come on, Lucy, let's go out by the secret garden. Come on, let's go. So this is what the secret garden looks like in October. And we had a huge harvest of our limelight hydrangea, which is kind of like where we got all of these beautiful limelights that are in back of the golf cart today. And what I had to do was I had to make sure that when we harvested all these gorgeous blooms that we didn't wind up taking too many of these blooms off of a single plant. So here's the story with limelight hydrangeas. So limelight hydrangeas come in, their blooms come in on what's called new growth. So you really don't have to prune this plant back at all. I usually don't prune back my limelight hydrangeas. And when I don't prune back my limelight hydrangea, it ensures that I kind of have these smaller flower heads. And when the flower heads are smaller, they don't wind up getting so droopy. But if you want like the big, giant, colossal flower heads that come on some limelight hydrangeas, then you can prune this plant back. But I would wait to do that until the end of winter or early spring. You want to make sure the plant is super dormant, because if you cut into this plant too early, you're going to kind of trick it into thinking that it should put out some more new growth. And then some of that new growth might have got like winter zap in the winter when the coldness came. So I want to make sure that I would cut a little bit from this plant, and then we've got like 12 other limelight hydrangeas in back of it, and so we cut a little bit from each plant. So make sure that you don't do a harsh pruning now. Some people in colder states will prune back their limelight hydrangeas in late fall, and it seems to be fine, so that's totally your choice. But if you want to play it safe, wait until late winter, early spring to prune, or do what I do, don't even prune them back at all, and you're going to wind up with gorgeous blooms. And so that's the story with this limelight hydrangea. And then let me show you some of the other gals in this garden. So this is my black-eyed Susan. This is what it looks like in October. And I love this flower because it gives you tons of blooms all summer long, and it's drought tolerant. And check this out. There are tons and tons of tiny little flower seeds inside each of these floral heads. And a lot of times, black-eyed Susans will self-seed themselves. So I'll just leave this gal intact in the garden. I don't even deadhead it. I let it do its thing, and then I wind up with more and more black-eyed Susans each season. But if you want, you could kind of cut these off, and you can kind of put them in like in a cool, dry place and store them, and then plant them yourself next season. Or you can even give them as gifts. It's a really great plant. So I want to show you some of the other plants and what's going on here. Let's take a little walk over here. So we've got a new hydrangea that I put in the ground just a few weeks ago. And if you want a link to show you how to plant your hydrangea in fall, I'll put that in descriptions below also. So believe it or not, he's looking good. I know he looks spotty and kind of like, oh my God, he looks so sick, but he's not. He's going dormant. He's okay, and I'm happy with this plant right now. My peony plant too, I know it looks like really kind of like uggo, but it's okay. It's got some powdery mildew on it, and it looks like it's really sick, but at the end of the day, it's just kind of got some moisture issues. And this time of year is a great time to prune back your peony plants. So the hydrangea plants I leave intact, and I made a ton of pruning videos about your hydrangea. For the most part, don't cut them back in fall unless you know what you're doing. But for peonies, definitely cut them back. So next week I'm gonna come out here. I'm actually gonna cut this peony down all the way to the ground. And then it's gonna come back in spring and be gorgeous and beautiful. So this guy I'm gonna cut back. And when I cut back the leaves of this plant, I'm gonna make sure that I remove those leaves. I don't wanna have powdery mildew leaves in my garden bed because that's gonna start a whole nother set of problems. So make sure you cut them back to the ground, remove the leaves, and that's the story with the peonies. I'm gonna do that throughout my entire garden and throughout my peony fields. So here's another peony that's gonna be going to the ground soon. Here's another hydrangea that I'm not gonna be pruning back. Another hydrangea I'm not pruning back, and another peony that I am pruning back. And then back here is a younger limelight hydrangea. That's what my limelight hydrangeas usually look like after, say, like 4 years of growth. So the big mama ones that I've been showing you have been in the ground for like 10 to 12 years. So some people have asked, some of the Flower Tribe questions that came in were, hey, how old are those giant limelights? I've had mine in the ground for like 4 years already. It's not looking like that. Don't worry, it's doing its job. It just takes a while. And so then we have our butterfly bush here. I've been deadheading this since Flower Tribe members have told me to deadhead it, because at one point I was showing a bush that I said, oh, it's pretty much had it for the season. And it was like just the end of summer. And thank you so much for the members that said, no, keep deadheading it. You'll get more blooms, because we did. So I'm gonna leave this gal intact for a while still. And then I've got some crepe myrtle back there. And for the most part, most of my plants I just leave alone. I know a lot of people love to kind of cut everything back at the end of fall. I kind of leave mine be and I let them go until spring, and then I deal with them then, but it's your personal choice. These are some tall ornamental grasses, and I love these because they can hide things like electric boxes and air conditioning units, but make sure that you have a lot of space between your plants and your electric box. This gal has to be trimmed back because it's just too close. And I have a ton of mint growing out here. If you guys love like a no-fuss plant that you need for like ground cover, mint is the way to go. However, it can take over a garden super quickly because it spreads and spreads and spreads. It's totally low maintenance, and it's great to kind of just give it like a little pinching, and you can put them in your teas and you can make mojitos out of them, and it's amazing, but it does spread out really aggressively. So keep an eye on the mint if you have that in your garden. But this is just gonna wind up going dormant in a few weeks, and it's gonna come back next summer. And then I have mint all summer long and all fall long. And I wanna show you what my hydrangeas look like this time of year. So these are my endless summer. I'm gonna keep these intact. I do not wanna prune these gals back in the fall, because if I prune them back, I'm gonna wind up cutting off a lot of these little buds that are gonna be next year's flowers. So I made a whole bunch of videos on whether or not you should prune your hydrangeas, and I'll put links to those below. But the Endless Summer and the Nico, do not prune them back in fall. And I also made a video showing you guys the benefits of deadheading the flowers off of your hydrangea plant. And that's usually a really, really good idea. So throughout the summer, most of the time, as my floral heads start to fade away, I'll give them a little clip. I'm not gonna prune the plant, but I'm gonna give it deadheading. But some Flower Tribe members had mentioned that at the end of summer, whatever floral heads are left behind, they like to keep on the plant because they felt like it added like a layer of protection to the newer buds that were forming beneath it from like the winter elements. And they also felt like it provided some cover for wildlife. And so I'm gonna wind up leaving my last burst of hydrangea blooms on some of my flowers to see if it protects these newer buds. So thanks, Flower Tribe. I love when you guys give me suggestions. I'm always learning from you guys, and I really appreciate the comments and the questions and the tips that you give in comments below. Please keep them coming. And so here's just another hedge that we kind of trimmed back a little while ago. And we made another video for you guys talking about fall grasses and beautiful flowers called sedum and some must-have flowers for your fall gardens. But here's what these beautiful gals look like this time of year. And we've been using a ton of these gorgeous plumes in our flower arrangements that we ship nationwide. I just love the flow of them. And then there's some gorgeous sedum tucked in back here. This is a super drought tolerant plant to grow in your gardens, and I'll just leave this plant intact for the winter and let the birds kind of feed off the seeds. And then I'll cut it back in spring. I wanted to show you what my Annabelle hydrangeas look like this time of year, and they pretty much had it for the season. And since these gals come in on what's known as new growth, I'm basically just going to leave them intact until next spring. And I'm even going to leave some of the floral heads on them too, to just provide some extra interest in the landscaping, so it's not just like stickly sticks. I wanted to show you one of my favorite shrubs, and this gal is called burning bush, and it turns this gorgeous crimson color in the fall. In the summer it's mostly green, but it turns this striking gorgeous crimson color, and look at the contrast of color that it has next to the hedge that I have. I just have like a hedge of yews over here, and yews are great because the deer usually leave them alone, and then I have an arborvitae anchoring this yard in the corner over here. But I love this crimson burst of color in fall. It's unbelievable. It's really striking. I'm going to move up closer so you can see some of the seeds that are in play right now, because this time of year this plant will give tons and tons of these little berries and seeds, and what happens is the birds are in here every morning having their breakfast, and it's just amazing to see all these beautiful, beautiful birds in this plant. I also love this planter that I have. I put these herbs in this planter. It took me 5 minutes. It was under 5 minutes to plant this herb garden, and I put it in this September, and I've been doing clippings from it every week, and it just keeps getting more and more lush and gorgeous and built out. So this little herb garden was about half the size just a few weeks ago. And I did a whole series on herb gardening and how I did this, how I got the results, and you can take a look at that. I'll put that video in descriptions below also. Thank you so much for joining us in this video, and please feel free to say hi to us over on our Instagram page. It's under Cranberry Fields, and also say hi to us on Facebook and Pinterest, and I'm going to put links to all those videos that I told you about in descriptions below. And please let me know where you're viewing this from in this great big beautiful world. I love to see how our flower tribe is growing around the globe each week. And I'm also going to put a link to my Patreon page below in case you're interested in becoming a supporter of this YouTube channel. And I will see you in the next video. And right now, this time of year, I've got some I'm not even going to go there.